In this video, we're going to be using the brush tool, and we're also going to look at some of the features that go along with using the brush palette that allows you to change many aspects in the brush tool itself. So to start off with, selecting the brush tool, make sure that it is actually the brush tool selected. You can click and hold and select the pencil and color replacement tool, but the brush tool is what we wanted for this video. So as you can see, if you click and hold, you can drag whatever color you have selected. Now to change the color, you simply go over to your color swatches over here. You can change between the two using this arrow selection right here, and we've basically just click in there and it brings up the color picker, and you just drag along here until you find the right color that you want. You can also choose the brightness or the amount of actual saturation you want in it. So here is highly saturated, highly bright, and the middle would be just slightly saturated and bright, all the way over to here where it goes into the grays and the blacks. So let's say I'm going to just want a nice solid blue color. Very saturated. Click OK. The way this works is you just click, hold, and drag, and there you go, you got your color. Now the other way you can choose to change colors is you've also got your color palette over here, which this will change the color automatically. You just drag in here and it'll select an eyedropper, and then it is already changed over in your color palette. So that's just one other simple way to do it. So there you go. We got the color selected. Now let's go over different types of brushes. The way you change your brushes is, let's start with opening the brush palette of the brush window. We're going to go up to Windows and we're going to choose Brushes. As you can see over here, the brush palette is now open and it allows you to select different types of brushes. You can also change the brush by hitting Control click in both the Mac and the PC, and that will bring up the palette right here, expand it out, and you can see multiple different brushes. This is the basic amount of brushes that is added in to Photoshop. You can change up different ones and add in more by clicking on this little arrow right over here, and it brings up this pop-up menu, and all these different assorted brushes right here are then added in. And all you have to do is click on a set. Say you want the just square brushes, and then it'll ask, would you like to append or would you like to click OK? If you click append, it adds onto your existing set of brushes. If instead, let's say I click thick and heavy brushes and then just click OK, and then it'll ask you if you want to save the brushes you have right now. You click don't save, and then it just loads those brushes. But for now, I'm going to choose the assorted brushes, click OK, and then I've got just a random set of brushes. I'm also going to add in the basic brushes just because everyone would be using those. So I'm going to pin those down, and there we go. So you can come through here and you can select different types of brushes, and then you can see it makes different shapes. So it's basically, from here, it's just experimenting with what you like, what you're going to use depending upon your project. I mean, I can tell you that a lot of brushes that you'll be using the feather brush a ton, not only for brushing but also erasing, because it becomes extremely handy in smoothing out the edges in certain layers and projects. Alright, so let's add in a little twist to this. We're gonna, for now, let's say we're gonna get the snowflake brush. Now when I drag it across, it's making these thick lines of snowflakes that aren't really looking that good. Here's how we're going to switch it up. We're going to go into the brush palette right here, and we're going to click on Shape Dynamics. And the way Shape Dynamics works is it will actually change when you drag across the brush the amount of, it can go with jitter size, as you can see, minimum diameter, angle, roundness. So let's start with, we're going to switch up the amount of size. And then we're going to switch up the diameter. We're actually going to make it so that there's barely any diameter. We're going to switch up the angle jitter so they'd rotate. This is actually completely uniform all the way around, so it's not really going to change much, but we can change on the z-axis the way it's round, in the sense that it's maybe tilted against the way we view. Click on scatter, and then that actually separates where the brush lands. So let's say I drag it here. Notice how they're not just staying in the one specific spot that I dragged it, they're actually going all over the place. And then we can really increase the scatter so that they expand a large distance across the screen. And this can be used to make really quick, cool looking backgrounds. You can see like that. Or we've got other things you can do. You can switch the texture of it. You can actually add in a specific texture, like see how it's instead of solid like all the way through, it's got multiple sections of opacity. Or removing texture, adding in, you can do dual brushes. Dual brushes is kind of a tricky one to work with. It changes up quite a bit with the diameter and the amount of scatter. It's hard to get used to, and I really haven't found much of a use for it. There are other tutorials out there that show you better uses of dual brush. Color dynamics is a nice little feature. Now I've got blue selected right now, but if I change up, say, the hue jitter just, let's say, 15%. Watch this. Now multiple different colors. So there's that. Brightness jitter. They're darker and lighter now. And then I'm going to airbrush it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to shape dynamics, increase the size. I'm going to go to brush tip shapes, and I'm actually going to increase the size of the overall brush to, say, 52%. Well, you know, let's go a little bit larger. That, and 50 pixels, 61% in spacing. And if I just drag this across the screen like so, I don't know what this would be for, most likely something with Christmas, but look at that, you've already made a very basic looking background, and this is just a simple thing you can do with a brush. The last thing I'm going to show you is I'm going to show you how to make custom made brushes. Now this is a little bit more advanced, but it's extremely useful and really cool when you learn how to use it. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by making a new project. We're going to go File, New, or not Open. Let's see if I can actually click on the right thing. File, New. We're going to do 200 by 200 square pixels. We'll name it Brush. Click OK. We've got ourselves a nice uniform square. What we're going to do now is take a custom shape and make that into a brush. The way that works is you're going to go down to your rectangle tool in your toolbar. It's right here. Click and hold. Go down to Custom Shapes. And then you can, just like when we control clicked with the brushes, you control click on in the window with the custom shape tool, and it brings up all these custom shapes. And I'm gonna say I want, let's say, what looks nice. Let's go with similar theme. Let's go with a panther paw. Let's say that we're actually trying to be somewhat school patriotic, if that's what you want to call that. Wow, fail. Try that again. There we go. Panther paw. Drag it across. Didn't make it uniform. Hold shift when you do this if you want to make it uniform, or you can stretch it out to anything you want, like so. And like so. Hold shift, let go, click. And then there's your layer. Now, the way to make this into a brush, first we have to come over to the layer style. You have to control click, hit rasterize layer. Now this turns it, instead of into a shape, into a layer itself, and you can move it around. So there's your layer. And then the last thing we have to do before we can turn it into a brush is we have to turn off the background layer. So now the background layer is not visible. Only this brush symbol is. We're going to go up to Edit, Define Brush Preset, and we're going to name this one Panther. Really? Wow. This is why I'm in communication. Panther paw. So I can't spell. Alright, cool. You can X out of that. No need for it. Don't need to save it. Come back over here. Click on your brushes. Go back in. And look, there it is, Panther paw. So let's size it down a little bit. Open up our brush palette. Click Shape Dynamics. Click Scatter. Do Color Dynamics. All of it, the presets should be saved the way they were. And look at that. Paws flying everywhere. Oh boy. Fantastic. And that's an easy way just to make an Eastern background. There's a little trick just like that. So that's pretty much all there is for brushes. You just experiment. You want to use these tools that I've just showed you and integrate them into your own project. And that's pretty much all there is to brushes. In the next video, I'll actually be going over how to work with text.